All right, Andrew, coming into camp, you're 5'4", you said, right? Okay, you were getting kind of too wide, and that doesn't surprise me for a wrestler. Wrestlers in general in their stance really want to hunker down. It's almost like you're competing against a guy that's going to try to take you down or something. In the game of football, you need those feet up and under you for balance, leverage, mobility, and power. Okay, a little wider than your shoulders is an average football stance. We need probably 4 to 6 inches wider than your regular stance because we need extra clearance between the legs. We don't want to encounter any resistance as we throw the football. Okay, but if you get too wide, lots of problems can result. Number one, it'll give you a high center of gravity because it gets hard to sit down into the stance. Number two, if you do get down in the stance, it's going to create tension in the hip flexors, tighten you up, slow you down. Number three, you lack mobility because you don't have your feet under you. Also, believe it or not, the wider you get, the harder it is to channel leg drive back in the hips and towards your target, which means we don't capture that motion energy and use it for accelerating the ball. And then the last thing is, quick path to a short career is the wider you get, the more you likely are to finish with locked out knees. The guy can really take your knees out and hurt you. Okay, so we want to get those feet up and under you. A couple of things we can do to fix it is get your feet set, rotate your heels inward a little bit or toes outward, and then as you sit down, put your knees out over your toes. That's going to give you plenty of clearance between the legs without having to get too wide. Go ahead and set up on this ball. Let's see what your stance width looks like right now, okay? As a general rule, we want to see the knees slightly wider than the shoulders, indicating we've got plenty of operating room. That looks good. Go ahead, stand up, step back where you were. The other things we had going on, you were underextended. You didn't have a lot of arm extension, so we saw a lot of bend in the elbow. All right, so you can't get a maximal throw from that position. You were tall in the saddle, meaning your rear end was a little high, not enough knee bend to be in a fundamentally sound football stance, okay? And then finally, you were kind of flat-footed. You're sitting flat-footed like this, and when you do that, you're not going to win many football battles. Your leg drive, even flat-footed, is going to be pretty much straight up. It's like doing a hack squat. It's the only way you can go when we really need it back into the hips and towards our target, all right? We had a bit of a rear hitch going on because you didn't have enough knee bend, so to snap, you were dipping the rear and then going. What we want to do is get you set up where the rear is already dipped where you want it to be, and then you can come down and through and be a lot more efficient. All right. The last thing we had is your wrist was really cocked. Being underextended down there and being low to the ball, if we raise the head and shoulders higher off the ground, settle you down on the back end and uncock the wrist, you're going to be in a much more athletic and throw-type position with your setup. Should be able to generate more linear acceleration on the football as opposed to spinning the ball. We want to accelerate it in a line towards your target, okay? Go ahead and set up. First thing I'm going to do is three-step you. You ready? Okay, I'm going to pull you forward, getting your knee bend to 90 or less, straightening the back and extending the arms. Then I'm going to raise you up, maximizing operating room under your torso. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push you back into the hips towards your target, not down to the ground, till the heels touch the ground, knees are over the toes, you're solid on your feet. How's that feel? Any pressure on the hip flexors? Okay, throw it hard. Excellent. Now I heard a little scrape of the ball on the ground, and I don't know if we talked about this, but your left hand, I think you can get more out of it if you would slightly increase the fingertip grip, the pressure, so that you can throw with two hands and control with two hands. All right, let's try that and see what happens. One more time. I'll three-step you more quickly. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Sit into it just a touch for me. There you go. Give it a good hard throw. Cleaner, wasn't it? And more power because you're throwing with two hands. That all looks really solid. Now let's do one more ball and see how we get you in that setup without me being here to three-step you, because after tomorrow, you're on your own until next year, I hope. All right? Okay. So you were a little underextended on the front end. You had the wrist really cocked and you were down low to the ball. You were tall on the back end. That can also give you a steep slope, which can predispose you to throw high. You didn't really have that problem, but I just want to point that out, okay? So what we did is we raised your head and shoulders higher off the ground, increased knee bend until we had the knees right over the toes and you were solid. Pretty simple, huh? And we moved you further from the ball, so we were able to uncock the wrist a little bit, put it in more of a throwing position. Throw with two hands. Stronger pressure with your left hand fingers. Okay, we had you down a long time. Let's do one more to make sure it's right. Can you actually hold the ball with your left hand by palming the top? That's the grip you should have. Okay? Right? So we raised the front end, settled the back end, got you balanced. Pretty simple stuff. How'd that feel?
Good.
A little off balance? Let me see that ball one more time. Let's fix the balance and you're good to go. One last time. Okay, now lift the ball off the ground. Make sure there's no shift in weight. See the shift? Now set it down and you should be perfectly balanced. What a difference it makes, huh? Perfect setup with balance will lead to a perfect snap because everything goes where it should. Down the spine, up through the legs, converging in an arrow point. Go straight to your target. Any questions?
Nope.
Looking good. Okay, so we raised the front, lowered the back, got the knees over the toes. Quick, smooth, two-handed throw, fingertip pressure. There it is. Beautiful. So again, pulled the ball forward, sat you down on the front, raised you up on the back a little, got the knees over the toes. Quick, explosive, two-handed throw. There it is. Man, I wish we would have had